All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Today, we are going to talk about communicating with business owners, which is very important. I always like to say, without your businesses, there is no you. Our businesses are what make Main Street Main Street. So today we're going to hear from three directors on how they communicate with their business owners and how they engage them. We're going to start off today with Kate Becker, Kate Baker, who's the director in Noblesville. So Kate, if you want to get started, the floor is yours. If you just want to introduce yourself and how long you've been in the position, that would be great.
Sure. Great. So I'm Kate Baker, and yes, I have been the executive director of Noblesville Main Street just since this past October. So I'm inching up on my year. So I was really excited when Abby asked me to speak today because this topic has been probably the most important um, for me this past year as I've grown into this role. Um, there's a lot of different directions that I could go with this, but I just will probably talk to you guys about kind of what my process has been in building those relationships with our downtown business owners. So when I first started, of course, any kind of trans time um, is it's difficult for anyone, right? So our business owners, I think for a while were kind of like, who do we reach out to? What do we, who's handling things over at Main Street? So I had a big task of reintroducing myself to a lot of people. I'm fortunate that I actually live downtown, so I live where I work, which is great. So there are some relationships that I already had just because I am already a resident down here. But there were some extra steps that I needed to take to meet the people that I didn't really know. So that was really important, just to that initial reach out of, hey, I'm here and I'm available. I will say one of the greatest things that I did that I didn't know was going to be great was, I don't know if you guys have heard of Calendly, but it's a scheduling tool that I have in every time you get an email from me, I have a link in my signature that says schedule a meeting. Anyone can click on that link and schedule a meeting with me anytime. So it syncs with my calendar so they can see my availability. And that's something that I said to the business owners right away was, you don't have to ask me for a meeting. Just click that link and schedule, and I will always make time for you. So that was saved probably literally hundreds of emails, the back and forth of, does this day work? Does this day work? They can just find the time that works. My calendar is up to date. So that was a great tool. So I did a lot of just one-on-one meetings with businesses and really asked them to share the good, the bad, and especially the ugly. I needed to know how they were feeling about Main Street. Were we of benefit to them? And how can we be of benefit to them? So that was those candid conversations were really important, especially early on, and then also to make sure that they know that they have that open door to keep those conversations going. So another thing that I actually with our marketing committee, we decided a big thing that I wanted to do was educate people on what the heck Noblesville Main Street is, because I realized that people really identify us through our events, but they don't necessarily know that it's a nonprofit organization that's putting those on. So Noblesville Main Street is responsible for our farmers market. Of course, that just becomes the Noblesville Farmers Market. The Main Street gets cut out of there. And so a lot of people think that the city put that on, just like other cities in our county. So making sure that people know that that's different. We just had last weekend the weekend before, was our street dance. And that is a really time-honored tradition that Main Street puts on. But of course, it's the Noblesville street dance. So a lot of people think that that's city. So for me, it's been really important to make sure that everybody knows that Main Street is a nonprofit organization that is putting these on for community engagement. And so with my marketing team and kind of thinking through some branding strategies, we came up with, we do monthly mixers, monthly Main Street mixers. And we meet at a brewery downtown. They're always last Thursdays. We created some consistency. And for me to take that a step further, I usually always do an extra invitation to our downtown merchants to make sure that they know that this is a spot that they can come, and I'll be there. Our board members will be there. And more importantly, because we're kind of trying to create a space for merchants to get together and know each other and share ideas and do all of that. Because it does amaze me the amount of business owners that don't necessarily know each other. Of course, you know, they're all working so hard to build their small businesses that they don't have the time necessarily to go meet up with other merchants, where that could be something really beneficial. So I see that as a really important part of Main Street's benefit. That's something that I tell them, you know, I can help bring them together and bridge some of those gaps. So those Main Street mixers were a really, really cool thing to implement, and they are more and more catching on. So I'm seeing more and more merchants that are coming to those, and that's been really great. So I also keep an open invitation to our merchants for our promotions committee. So if they ever want to be involved in those and have a voice at the table for all the events that we do put on, specifically the ones that we put on right in downtown in front of their shops, they have an open invitation to that as well. So it has truly been a work in progress to build some of those relationships. You know, sometimes, like I said, in transition, sometimes you can lose the faith of people. And so regaining that trust is something that is really important to me. So it's very much a work in progress. I just I co-hosted with another downtown merchant last week, a merchant meeting where we actually came together to talk about the last half of the year. And I'm realizing that those separate merchant meetings are very important. And it's something that I will implement next year to be, maybe they're quarterly, maybe they're monthly. I'm not totally sure, but at the very minimum, probably quarterly, so that they can have an idea of what Main Street is planning and how that they can create bridges off of that. So yeah, does anyone have any questions? Or Abby, are we taking questions at the end, or?
Yeah, we're going to do questions at the end. So if you want to put in a question in the chat as we go, you can do that. Or at the end, if you want to unmute yourself and ask any questions at that time, we can. Thank you, Kate, for talking to us about communicating. We're going to move on to Anna Walker from North Vernon, who's going to chat with us about a business education series that they're doing.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. Always good to check, because I have been in those situations where I thought I was unmuted, I definitely was not. So I'm Anna Walker. I'm brand new director as of the beginning of this year for a brand new organization, which is North Vernon Main Street. So for us, really developing relationship with business owners has been key to the downtown and starting really strong for our organization. We actually, so one thing that made us kind of look at what can we do specifically for building business in our downtown is we do not have a chamber of commerce here in Jennings County. And so some of the resources that a chamber might offer or have available to the wider county were not available to any of our downtown merchants or wider community business owners. So we came in with the understanding that we had heard from And I specifically had heard from businesses over the few years that I've been here, hey, do you know where I can find X resource or things like that? And so as we got started, and as one of our goals was to support our business resilience as well as creation of businesses in downtown North Vernon, we began to kind of think creatively of like, well, what can we offer our businesses specifically in downtown, but also to offer the opportunity for anyone in the county who wanted to explore business or was doing business in the county, an educational seminar for them. And so we started with my Economic Vitality Committee doing these things called building business seminars. And our thought was to keep it a local focus. So specifically, what had we heard from those businesses that they were trying to find resources for, as well as what currently do we offer just in the county that we could come bring them in and actually share, hey, here we are, here are the types of things that we know about that a business will need to know as they're getting started or maybe need to grow. And so we begin to think about what are the things that those could be. So our very first one was in July, and we focused on insurance because we all know business insurance is really important. And we have a good number of insurance providers. So we, my Vitality Chair and I, we went around to all of the different insurance providers in town and said, hey, we want to host this insurance seminar, purely educational. So we made sure we set that expectation. Like we want to make you visible, but please don't try and, sell something specifically, because we want everyone in the room. So all 10 or 11 different insurance providers we went around to and offered them an opportunity to be on the seminar panel. And then we coordinated with our local Indiana Small Business Development Center advisor, which was awesome because they're such an important resource, and we wanted to make sure that our community know they exist. So they facilitated the panel. We hosted at our office, and we had some really great conversations. New business owners, or they were kind of developing, were there. Some longtime business owners that wanted to know more about cybersecurity and some of these new insurance things that they needed. So we wanted to really be a resource for them in that. So the other ones that at least the next one that we're planning, which is in September, is going to be focused on doing business in a digital world, which we've had a number of questions about. So we're looking at having a organization who does, and they're called Pro Media Group. They're in Indiana, not necessarily North Vernon, but also coordinating with some of our media high school students to provide some, both just seminar presentations, but then the high school students will kind of give a one-on-one if a business owner needs to know how to post on Instagram or do Facebook posts, which there are a good number of our business owners that don't know how to use social media. So we want to be able to give them they don't feel judgment or whatever, but just say, hey, here we go. Here's how you can do this. You can do it. So they are hopefully catching on. We've only done our first one, obviously, and we'd like to continue these quarterly as we go through the year. But that's just, I guess, one aspect of it. I call it FaceTime. I FaceTime with my business owners. I go around every day, at least connect with 2 or 3 in our downtown district. So that's been really helpful in just building those connections. Like Kate, I already had some of those in place. So I'm focused on trying to connect with the new ones that I haven't met. Well, I haven't met. I might have been in their establishment, but I hadn't met before. So that's been really good. That kind of every day they see me out and about, I'm getting to see kind of what's going on downtown and say hello to people has been really important for developing that. And they always know they can come to me, all the business owners, with ideas. So the building business one, that was actually an idea of one of our downtown merchants who said, hey, where can I find someone to teach me how to do this? And I'm like, well, let me see what I can do. So that's been really the heart of our building business seminars, and I'm excited to see where they take, because offering those resources is important, and hosting them downtown but making it available for the county as a whole is really important to us. So we want to make sure that everyone knows, even if they're not in the district, that they're welcome and available, and they're free of charge. So
Great, Anna. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say that's a free resource is really great. I think that sometimes that's where we miss with chambers is, usually you have to be a member to attend their, seminars or whatever, but Main Streets are open for everybody. So we really appreciate that. Next, we have Bri Roll from Seymour, who's going to talk about her relationships with business owners and how she does things in Seymour. So Bri, you can take it away.
All right, thank you. Can you guys hear me? Awesome. Yeah, so like you mentioned, I'm going to take you through some of the touch points that I follow and practice here in Seymour. So I did write down the merchant mixers because I do the merchant meetings quarterly, like you mentioned, but we do that with an agenda. It's not formal, but I think having just a mixer to connect socially is really great. So thank you for that idea. So at our merchant meetings, we have an agenda. We talk about all of the upcoming events, anything that will impact the business of the downtown. We also open the floor just for the businesses to talk about anything that they have going on. Promotions wise, they can promote their own events or specials because the more people that know, that's the more people that can tell. We also talk about anything downtown that might be a struggle. We go over that. I try to promote ways that they can partner with each other. So if the bookstore is running a special, maybe if you have a receipt, you can get 10% off at the coffee shop. Just trying to find those ways to just imprint on them the importance of working with each other to try to share the business. But during that open floor, it's a really important time just to listen to what the problems are so that we know as an organization where we need to be. So one of those struggles, for example, not too long ago, trash wasn't being collected down one particular service alley. It had been sitting there for about 2 weeks. So I just reached out, talked to the trash collector. It was actually not our city collection. It was a paid dumpster. So called that company, found out that for whatever reason, they had gone off of their schedule. So they got it corrected. And that was just, a pretty quick call, but just a way for us to step in and try to solve some problems for them. And another issue that we're having with a downtown alley, we're having issues with the infrastructure. So the sewer system keeps causing problems. So today at 2:30, I organized a meeting with the city councilman charged with that, charged with infrastructure, and a couple of the owners along that alley so that we can try to figure out what we need to do, what's possible, can we make this a priority, anything of that nature. And that all kind of spurred or grew from that last merchant meeting. And I see Missy says, what time for the merchant meetings? I just recently started offering 2. So typically we were doing them quarterly at 7:30 in the morning. And then had a couple people say, I'm just not a morning person, got to get kids to school, whatever. So I opened an additional merchant meeting from 4:30 to 5:30. So we've had success seeing a few different faces come into those meetings. So we're going to try to test that out. And this segues really well into partially event follow-up. I use SurveyMonkey a lot. So about every 6 to 9 months, I'll just send out a quick survey. Is this still working for you? Is this the right time of day? Would you come if it was at a different time? And then give them some options of times that they can meet. But I'm also using that SurveyMonkey to do event follow-up. So with our job, we want to make sure that whatever we're doing to promote the downtown is having an economic impact. So the only way we know that is by following up. You know, did you have more foot traffic? How did your sales compare to last year? Sometimes they'll give it to you, and sometimes it's really data friendly. You know, yeah, I was up 15% year over year. Sometimes it's just, I saw a lot more people, and that's the only way to track it. But at least you're getting a feeling for what's working. A couple years ago, we did a shopping event, and we tried to do the third Thursdays of each month. And we got that feedback, hey, we are not seeing an increase in business anymore. I think Thursday nights are rough with sporting events in town. There's a lot of sports on Thursday nights. It's just not a popular night for people to get out in our community. So we ended up moving that to a quarterly shop around on a Saturday, and that's worked out a lot better so far. So definitely prioritize reaching out to follow up and making sure that what you're doing is having a positive effect, or see if you need to change something. Other than the event follow-up, we also have, I've created just a downtown business/building owner email distribution list. And it's pretty simple and easy. Most of you probably have that, but if you don't, it is a very convenient way to just forward information out. So a lot of times the information that I'm getting from Abby, I forward out, you know, these are the opportunities, whether that's grant opportunities or educational, maybe it's training. We've had that come across too. But I also use it to make sure in time that I'm letting people know, hey, this road's going to be closed. They're doing maintenance. And sometimes, you know, as Main Street, we know that, and sometimes it's a surprise. So trying to get that information out when you can. Other things, parking reminders, you know, that's always everyone's favorite subject, but hey, don't forget, you know, 2-hour parking. Please be sure that your employees aren't using your prime spaces. Just little reminders, upcoming event reminders. But what I'm wanting to do is just establish myself as that resource, like Anna mentioned. I want to be accessible. I want to let them know about anything that is going to potentially affect their business, whether that's in a positive or a perceived negative way, and maybe even offer assistance if it's possible. So one thing I wrote down is just, so if we do have a street closure, just promoting that some of the stores are still open, and here's your roundabout way to get to them, just so they feel, you know, supported in that way. So that's been really helpful. You know, I love the idea of the calendar ads, so I'm definitely going to look into that, because, you know, we have our contact info, you know, text me, email me, but that's a great alternative and a way to just streamline it. So thanks for that. Also, just like Anna mentioned, regularly visiting with your businesses face-to-face. I schedule time each week just to be out of the office. Usually I find Fridays are pretty good. In our community, I don't know if everybody's the same. We kind of joke that nobody works on Fridays, but it's a great day for me to get out. There's not a lot, you know, there's no city meetings. There's not a lot going on there. I guess for the record, I should say my office is in City Hall. So there's not a lot going on. So I like to get out on those days. Like Anna mentioned, maybe pop into 2 or 3, just kind of make that regular, getting your face out there and letting them know that you are available and accessible. And sometimes a lot of those conversations, they happen in those really casual moments. Hey, yeah, I'm glad you're here. Did you know that this is happening? You know, you guys all probably have had that happen. So it's really important just to be around, be accessible, answer questions, getting to know your businesses and what they need. And then we also implemented during COVID a holiday shopping campaign. So we partnered with our Chamber of Commerce, our local visitor center, our 2 local radio stations, and our local paper / they have a marketing agency tied to it, and United Way. And we all came together during the holidays to promote shopping. So it did go a little bit bigger than the downtown, of course. But that was perfect for us because it overlapped and encompassed the Shop Small Saturday campaign, which aligned with our quarterly shop around. So we were able to offer additional marketing grants to businesses that the visitor centers supported and the chamber supported. So we were able to, hey, if you do a package, then you'll get $200 of credit through grants from these partner organizations. And it just really drove home that this community values our local options. So that was a great way for us to show that we are really putting our local businesses first, and supporting them and trying to find ways to drive that traffic back to them. Let's see, I see helping each other with needs. So interesting. Yeah, the merchant meetings, Anna says, have you ever had conversations about the business owners helping each other with needs such as snow shoveling? Funny you say snow shoveling. I'm getting all tongue tied, but we did kind of have that come up. But it was through a walk. It wasn't at the merchant meeting. We were out and about and got complaints because the city doesn't have a plow to do the sidewalks. So we have a couple businesses that, they have older owners or maybe they're absentee. And we had someone volunteer with a snowblower to come and help those businesses out. So not so much at the merchant meetings. I feel like sometimes the issues will come up, but usually it's more helping promote each other and less problem solving together is what I've experienced so far. I think that's it for mine, Abby. So I will turn it back over to you.
Great. Thank you, all three of you, Kate, Anna, and Bri. If anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask away, or you can put it in the chat and we can answer it that way.
I have one more thing I can share that you guys
Go for it.
I realized when I first started, one of the big things that I wanted to do was put all voices around one table that do anything kind of event-wise in our downtown area. So I formed the Downtown Collaborative Committee. We meet monthly, and that's Main Street, Chamber of Commerce, the City of Noblesville, our Parks and Rec director, as well as Nickel Plate Arts, which is our arts cultural district. And we all meet monthly, and then we also do monthly downtown stakeholder virtual meetings. And that's something that we do where we all do those report outs. So kind of similar actually to Kim, what you were saying about your weekly call, we do kind of that monthly call, but it's all businesses downtown so that they also can see that all entities are working together. In previous years, we used to have some overlap with some events that just everyone was planning their things separately. So we created a community calendar. And then that way there's a flow to all of that. And that just really helps our merchants. So.
One of the things that you guys all three of you mentioned was your kind of street time, being out in businesses. How do you guys, when you walk into a new business, how do you introduce yourself, or how do you interact and kind of sell the Main Street to new business owners?
I don't know who wants to go, but I'll jump in. I try to make that first meeting just very casual, pop in when they're, hopefully in an ideal world, we've already met because they came to me to try to find a location. So that's that's perfect. We've already got that relationship. I've already tried to be a resource for them and told them all about all of us, all about what we do. But in that case where, for whatever reason, I have not gotten in front of them before they've already started the move-in process, then I just try to pop in before they're open officially, while they're moving in, and just, hey, I'm Bri, I'm with Seymour Main Street. I'm not sure if anyone's told you about it, and just kind of give them your elevator pitch. This is what I do. This is why I'm here. I'm really here to promote you and try to help get you business, and give them my information. And then just say, hey, I know things are crazy. When things have settled down, let's get together. And then just pin that out. If they've not gotten with you, just pop back in and just try to push that meeting time. But I try to have a separate meeting, and even if it's in their location, that's fine. And that's when I'll bring more information, a copy of our calendar of events, a copy of our, I show them a strategic plan. I do show them, levels of support, just different examples. I'll bring in a folder and just let them know, this is why I'm here. Please let me know what you need. And also, if there's any grant opportunities, our organization offers in-house grants to businesses. So if there is that option, regardless, I tell them about the opportunities. Unfortunately, sometimes I have to tell them, funding's not there anymore right now, but you can apply for assistance again on this date. But just keep it kind of as light as you can on that first intro. Just make them feel comfortable, and don't come in with like full steam ahead mentality, because that can be pretty overwhelming. That would be my advice.
I would echo a lot of what Bri said. One thing I do, if I know, so we do have one business owner who likes to do his own attracting of businesses into his storefronts, or he's a building owner. So I don't always know what's happening unless he shared with me, hey, I've got a new business owner coming in. So I kind of keep watch on his locations. And if I see some movement, I'll try and stop in, like Bri said, before they get started. And in the case that they've already done their opening, because I haven't been able to catch them, like Bri, I just go in kind of casual, introduce myself. If I know that they're there and open, I'll take a little, I'll go ahead and take our calendar of events and we're trying to kind of get a little something, just a couple little things, items to say, hey, welcome to the downtown. We're excited you're here. And not try and, do here's the level of support, but just sort of a introduction and say, hey, I'm a resource for you. Would love to be able to connect at a later time. So I do that, especially if they are someone I haven't caught before. I'm trying to think if there's, I do have some business owners, and I don't know if any of y'all have kind of come into this. There's some of my older business owners who appreciate me touching base with them almost weekly. And they ask me if I haven't said hello to them, if there's anything wrong. So I do know there's a few of them that I'll just go say, hey, just wanted to say hello, checking in. And then they don't really like to get together and share what their needs are, but that's their time to say, hey, here are the things that I'm concerned about. So I do know there's a few that I need to kind of touch base with, even if it's for a couple minutes each week. So I try and do that. Otherwise they'll be coming to me and be like, hey, what's up? Why don't you like me anymore? I'm just kidding. But but yeah, those would be, I guess, the main things, just kind of echoing what Bri said, but also if there are certain business owners that, appreciate a check-in more often, you kind of honor that too.
Yeah, I would absolutely. I really don't have much else to add to all of those points. It is just kind of that personalization. I think, Anna, is what you're saying. Once you develop relationships, you can understand the business owners that want to be in touch with you and want to share information, and the ones that really just kind of want the information, and that's good. and I think finding that that line of respecting how people want to be communicated with or not. So I have a really kind of neat thing here at the city. The city of Noblesville has a downtown community engagement manager. So it's kind of a Main Street position at the city, but what's really great is that allows for me to have a partner at the city. that that person and I tend to create a team spirit of that. So he and I both kind of are downtown and we communicate with each other. I think we probably talk every day. I think we literally talk every day. And that way, a lot of our business owners know that if they have spoken to one of us, they've spoken to both of us, which is a really cool, I think a luxury that I have actually built in, to have that alliance with the city on that front, and that the businesses kind of know that, so that they know that they're being heard both by Main Street and the city. So it's kind of a nice thing we have going on here.
One thing I do want to add for those on the call today or listening in later on, you know, luckily these 3 communities have directors who can kind of do this visit. But if you don't have a director, if you're not in the position to have a director, make sure this is something that your EV committee is working on. It should not be forgotten that your business owners do need this contact. So really, you know, have some board members or some committee members take this role on of the business visits or putting together these networking opportunities. It's very important.
One thing I can add, Abby, I had it written down and just went right over it. We are doing business face-to-face meetings with EV this year during the second half of the year, where we will schedule and assign all of our businesses a committee member. We have a fairly large Main Street district, so it's pretty impossible for me to get with everyone on a regular and consistent basis. And we have a lot of businesses too where, you know, they may have kind of strange hours, or if Friday is my favorite day to go out, they're not there. So I will say that my committee is taking that on, where they are going to take kind of that same packet that I was referencing and take that to every single business, so that we can try to get that information in the hands of anyone that I've not been able to reach out to yet, and also give them a second person. So, you know, maybe they're not comfortable with me. Maybe, you know, maybe they don't like my style. That's fine. Let's give them another person to reach out to. Maybe they just connect better. So I completely forgot to mention that, but I am assigning that to a committee to make sure it gets done.
That's great. And one of the things too that you want to make sure is that contact, so if it's your director or your EV committee member, is a different person than if you're doing your yearly investor ask. You want that associated with different people. So when that person, so if Bri walks in the door, they're not saying, oh, great, Bri's here to get money out of me. You want that to be a different face. So when Bri walks in the door, hey, Bri's here to help me. And I know like I can have a candid conversation with her. And also making sure within that candid conversation, you're letting these people know, these business owners know that, you know, if there is some private aspect that they're talking to you about, it's not going to be spread, you know, that you're a safe place to have a conversation with. Kate, could you share just a little bit about that city's downtown engagement position?
Yeah, absolutely. I saw that question pop up over there. Yeah, it really is very, very much like a Main Street position just within the city. So, and that was kind of created through the years for that need for a liaison, I suppose. So his role is really to communicate with downtown merchants, make sure that they're being communicated with from the city perspective. He goes a lot deeper into upcoming maybe construction or road closures or things that he's kind of more in tune with city projects in that way. They also, our city, I know a lot of Main Streets on here run their facade grant program. Our city actually does that. So he kind of has a handle on that. So yeah, it's in terms of what his role is, it's just, it really is Main Street nestled into the city. So, and I'd be happy to put you, incredibly friendly. He could be a Main Street person himself. So if you have a desire to speak with him, I'd be more than happy to put you in touch with. Aaron Head is his name.
Right. Do we have any more questions about how to communicate with business owners? I'm going to ask the one that maybe everybody's been thinking about, but nobody's really asked. How do you deal with difficult business owners?
My favorite topic. Honestly, how I have approached that is that I always keep at the forefront the fact that these business owners they're trying to run a business. Their livelihood is their business. And I have found that the most difficult people that I have dealt with are really the people that care the most. I always try to consider the stresses that they have when they're running a business. We've all heard of the staffing issues that everybody is having. I can't imagine what it feels like to be consistently trying to make a profit, but you're also consistently training new people, or you're doing the job yourself because there literally is no one, or maybe you've had to shorten your hours because there's no one. And I just always think that just must be tremendous pressure. So I always try to approach the challenges by somehow stepping into their shoes, even though I know I never can. And I'm also very transparent with them that I don't know what it's like to be a small business owner. I don't know that view. So I think just when it comes to challenging situations, offering grace first and foremost, and being able to listen to their concerns. I've actually had some merchants that have expressed some disappointment in me, and that's really hard to hear when you're like, oh, because I'm working really hard too. But I've had to really switch my lens and understand that's their truth. And so hear their truth, listen to the whys, and then you can start to have a conversation on how maybe I need to change, or maybe how I need to explain what I'm doing and why I'm doing. So I think that's my biggest, is when I deal with difficult people, so to speak, there's usually a reason for it. And so I just try to offer the grace first.
I completely agree with Kate. I was going to add a few things, but when they came in my head, you covered them exactly. So just listening, a lot of times you don't have to have a resolution, but just the feeling of being heard and respected, that's huge for relationship. If I go in and they complain about parking, there's nothing I can do. I can't develop a new parking structure out of thin air, but just hearing their grievance and, commiserating with them and letting them know, yes, I care how this affects you. This is what I'm able to do. This is what I can't do. So the clear communication as well on the expectations of what I'm able to do for them is also very beneficial. So like I said, Kate, you did a great job of explaining it, so good job.
I would third that. One thing I will add is with a couple of my business owners that have their personalities are just a little more rough and raw, just in general, just how they communicate. Getting to know them and just spending time with them has done a real service for our organization, because like Bri said, they feel heard. I may not always have the answer, but they feel heard. But then there's a point at which some of them want to kind of see you prove yourself. And once they feel like, oh, they are in it to help me, then they're a little calmer, or they're willing to work with me a little more. So, and that's been an ongoing process. There are some that I'm there, and then some that I'm not. But just in general, like if they have come to me with something that is in my power to potentially do something about, and it's gotten done, which is a big thing for us here in the downtown, because before Main Street, a lot of the business owners didn't feel like their voices were ever heard. And so things that they were complaining about or had an issue with didn't ever get addressed or resolved. So actually, like when I can be an advocate to the city and say like, hey, we need to, have this communication plan during the street project, and here's something that the business owner is saying, then they're like, oh, she is there with us. She's got our back, and she's able to do, what she can. And then they're open to more things. So that's the only thing I would add.
And I will say it, as a director, I did have a couple business owners that, I tried all this stuff and it just, nothing would appease them. And it was okay for me to walk away, to just not put any energy into that business owner anymore. Because sometimes nothing you can do is going to appease them. And you have, 40 other businesses that you need to be working with, or, in my case, I had, over 100 other businesses when I was a director that, it was okay just to say, I've done what I can, and, my door is still open for you, but I need to put some energy somewhere else. So it is totally okay to just say, you know what, let's agree to disagree. And when you need me, you can come to me. It's totally okay to say. All right, well, we're getting.
I would
Oh,
quickly add too, just that sometimes you don't know, like, even if they're coming off as though they're disappointed consistently or that you're not meeting those expectations, once in a while, you never know who might speak up and say, actually, I really appreciate the work that you're doing. And I know I was just in Richmond last week and we were going around to some business owners downtown, and Beth, I don't think she's on the call, but Beth, she was like, oh, we'll go in to see this business owner, but he's pretty, like, doesn't have the most positive attitude about downtown. Let's just say that. But she said, she was like, him and I have a pretty good relationship. It's taken some time, but like, and so she was kind of prepping us for him being kind of negative. But when we went in there and we were talking to him, at one point he said, Beth and Main Street is the only thing that has given me hope about where Richmond is going. And she like teared up because she was like, I've never heard him say that to me, And so I think sometimes it might feel like you're like, I'm getting nowhere with this business, but there are those moments where it might click and be like, they do probably see the impact that you're having, even if there's some negativity, in the way that they talk. So I just wanted to mention that as well.
Yeah, I definitely will comment, Kim just said, you three are great. And I think all of our directors, we have great directors and we have great volunteers for our Main Street communities. And I do think I owned a small business for a while. And I think, having that support, even if it's not physically there sometimes, just like knowing that, you have a Main Street in your community, and if you need help, that's a resource you can reach out to. And always just making sure that you're putting that communication out there. Walking in the door, sending out emails. We've heard here today that all three of these organizations are great buffers for their cities sometimes. People might not feel comfortable going to their city, but if they go to you, they know that information will be carried on. Do we have any final questions or comments for these ladies today? Yeah, Kim just said, I've been doing this for 20 plus years, and during COVID, all of a sudden people were calling on Main Street. I really do. I agree. COVID was a game changer for, I think, a lot of Main Street organizations, because people knew, oh, I have somewhere I can go and talk to, and I obviously I will always champion Main Streets, but yeah. All right, with no more questions or comments, we will end our webinar. Thank you, ladies. We really appreciate your time. I'm sure if any of you need to get in touch, they would be open to answering any questions. But with that, we will end for today. So thank you all. We'll be back in a couple weeks with Kelly from Main Street America, who's going to talk about how to communicate with your decision makers in your network. So that will be a great webinar on the 31st. Thanks all.